Hi, good evening. Happy New Year 2023. Welcome to the Holistic Leadership Podcast. I'm your host this evening, Laura Newberry-Yokley. I am a holistic leadership coach with Sonrisa Products. I'm a Reiki Master, author, and really an all-around spiritual sojourner, a spiritual seeker. And we started this last year doing First Friday podcast, the first Friday of every month, getting online and talking about our intentions and our manifestations and our goals and our dreams and kind of envisioning the landscape as we would like to see it, all following a book I wrote 5 years ago. It's called Healing Calendar 365. It is a holistic leadership tool. So Sonrisa Products is my umbrella company that I started in 2014 when I stopped working at one of my favorite pharmaceutical companies. And I took a gap year in between my policy strategy job and jumping into nonprofit marketing. Had a huge career change and I've never looked back. So during that time, I started Sonrisa Products because I wanted to keep my, network intact. And a stay-at-home mom, I was just having my second son, was unknown to the corporate world. So I asked, do you know what a stay-at-home mommy is? Well, no, that's hard to relate to. Well, I said, okay, so how about a small business? Do you know what a consultant is? And they're like, yes, we can relate to you that way. So really, Sonrisa Products is me in company form. That's how I started. And Sonrisa means smile. It is the most universal thing. A smile is known in every community and every culture around the world. And I started it as an umbrella to do cool projects while I was home raising my son for his first year. I would go on walks after I would drop my daughter off, and then I would write grants and I would consult on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging issues with the Small Business Administration, for example, or I became writing. I started writing books. I started envisioning this business. And I have about 8 journals of ideas that I'm now starting to go back and look at. That's the content for social. That's the content for holistic leadership, um, curriculum. And that's also, some of the tools that I have gone back and developed since then. So all of that started with Sonrisa Products. And as it turned out, then I started writing books. And then Sonrisa Products also has started publishing authors that may not have a voice or a publishing platform anywhere else. And so that's kind of how it got started. And it's been just wonderful to kind of see it evolve. And, since then I have gone back to school and gotten my MBA. And it's the coolest thing in the world. One of my classes was on e-commerce. And I wrote a 300-page plan for how do I do e-com with my business. And I used Sonrisa Products as the model, and I wrote my own plan. So now I'm going back and following and taking my own advice, and it's so cool. So this First Friday podcast really follows this Healing Calendar 365 calendar. And I wrote it because I wanted all of these different parts and pieces from different calendars, and none I could find had it all together in one go. And of course, now it's the next step, of course, would then be to put it into an app or some digital form of sorts. So, but last year I had said in this, okay, so 2018, I wrote this, and it says on page 6, okay, it says, Sonrisa Products presents Healing Calendar 365 and the Conscious Awareness Maintenance Webinar Series. So I had envisioned it being a webinar series, which you can see me now. So this could be a webinar, but then I made it into a podcast because it was easier to listen to. And then I said action steps are to get the calendar, attend a webinar series, and then register now. And I have the URL here. So 4 years later is when I got my act together to do the webinar. Last year we did 7 of them, and it was really cool. And I think eventually as people start to listen to this, I have a few listeners over. I have people who listen to the podcast regularly, and as we amass a community, the webinar or even just a Zoom room, for example, would be a really great way for this maintenance series to really come alive in different ways. So then you're discussing your goals with people. You can have live conversations. So that's the dream. That was the dream 5 years ago. And, sometimes manifestation isn't as fast as one would imagine, but here we are 5 years later, and we've got the webinar/podcast. And we're using this calendar, and it's cool because it's evergreen. So you can use it year over year, which is what I'm going to do this year. So my goal this year is to do more of the podcasts. I got off to a great start, really understood what I was doing, and then we can go from there. So, I'm going to use this. You can use a blank journal if you don't have this, or you can order this off of sonrisaproducts.com, or you can order it off of Amazon. Just search Laura Newberry-Yokley or Healing Calendar 365. I have several other books on there too, so you can check those out. But kind of bringing that leadership, holistic leadership is internal leadership, that inner guide. Tapping into that inner guide. And then Sonrisa Products is also that inner space between business and spirituality. And the idea is that if you can create integrity, if you can create consistency and accountability, then what will happen is that other people will follow you because they see what you're doing. They'll trust you. The trust goes up and opportunity to lead goes up. And of course, this happens at any place and space. You don't need to be the top of the organization to do this. You can do it with peers at any level. You can do it as a stay-at-home mom. Anybody can tap into these resources. So this is the intro for 2023. Any of these podcasts that I already have on Spotify or Apple or anywhere where you can find, like Google or anywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find these. And you can listen to them over and over again, wherever we are in that space, in that time, on that spiral of growth and development, we can really just re-listen and really think and deepen. So this is the intro for this year, but you can go back and listen to all of those either as you go or, as time permits. So I'm going to just walk you through kind of the flow this time, and then we will continue in February. So welcome to Healing Calendar 365. You're welcome to take notes and doodle and noodle as we go through. And again, life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. I really like T.S. Eliot. If you haven't read anything by him, he's exceptional. And there's a poem that he has written. It's part of his 4 quartets poem. And I'm going to read it because it's in the book and I love it. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. Time past and time future, what might have been and what has been, point to one end, which is always present. The dance along the artery, the circulation of the lymph, are figured in the drift of stars at the still point of the turning world, neither flesh nor fleshless, neither from nor towards. At the still point, there the dance is, but neither arrest nor movement, and do not call it fixity, where past and future are gathered, neither movement from nor towards, neither ascent nor decline, except for the point, the still point. There would be no dance. I can only say, there we have been, but I cannot say where. And I cannot say how long, for that it is to place it in time. Time past and time future allow but a little consciousness. To be conscious is not to be in time. Wow, I just understood that in a really different way. I first read this in 2003 when I was writing my senior thesis at the College of Worcester. I came across this poem and I have read it for 20 years. And I just reread it with you today. And I understand it in a very different way than I did in my 20s, in my 30s, and now in my 40s. I understand it very deeply and very differently. But that is the case. Okay, so then I kind of began to explain a little bit about this calendar, but I want to first informally, officially welcome you to your new year. This is the year of soulful surrender, of conscious awareness, of awakening. This is the year of holistic leadership, which is, simply code for self-exploration, of course. Get to know yourself on all levels and in all ways so that you may strip away your layers for total, both immediate and gradual transformation. So this podcast will help you examine your internal and your external landscapes. You'll really get to know yourself in a different way, where you are, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. Putting that plan and that dream into action is really how manifestation happens. Being able to think in 6 dimensions, pull it into 2-dimensional paper plan form, and then push it back out into 3 and 4 dimensions is just such a blessing to be able to do. And as you lose the weight, this is Carolyn Mace, my favorite quotation from her, as you lose the WEIGHT, you lose the WAIT. So as you lose the weight, you lose the weight. So we're going to learn about transformation. We're going to pull it into plan form, pull it out into action form this year, and we're going to make things happen. So, yeah, I've talked already a little bit about holistic leadership, knowing fully who you are so you can help others be fully who they are. And you are your best guide to be able to lead yourself through the challenges and the trials that you go through in life, and also to guide you through the celebrations and the joy that you will experience, the highs and the lows. And that's why you're the best leader for this job called life. It's you. You are the one. You have been chosen and called. And so this is all about leadership as self-awareness, the practice of open and honest self-awareness. And enter Brene Brown, vulnerability and authenticity. So that's holistic leadership in a nutshell. And you can view this calendar as your interior designer. I'm kind of talking you through the introduction just to give you a taste. It's your success coach, your personal care attendant, and your daily organizer, which is why it really needs to be an app. So if you know how to make apps, come teach me how to do it and I'll do it. So, yeah, that's kind of the idea. Inside this book too is a really cool assessment that I wrote as part of the calendar. So it's called the Holistic Leadership Assessment. The objective of this assessment is to take a snapshot. In January, we'll take a baseline, see where we are. And then in February, we can take another one and we can see, what are we doing? What are we missing? What do we need to be doing? It really gives you that guidepost and that guidance intangible, quantifiable ways so that you can really adjust your habits and your behavior, your attitudes, all of that, and really get moving in the direction that you want. It just helps you avoid complacency and, perfection paralysis. It helps you get over those blockages that you may or may not throw in your own way. And so it's such a cool tool, and I am so excited to share it with you. So the assessment works. The way that it works is there are 10 sections, and there's 10 questions within each section, and the section totals up to 10 points, 1 point per thing inside of each section. Each section covers one area of your life. Like the first one is beingness. Second is doingness. Third is self-awareness. Fourth is social surroundings. Fifth is interpersonal relationships. Sixth is spiritual practices. Seventh is financial wealth. Eighth is personal health and hygiene. Do you brush your teeth? Do you take a shower? Do you wash your face? Do you go to the doctor? These kinds of things, even just down to your daily health regimen and your self-care. And that's the section 9 is self-care practices. And then 10 is physical surroundings. And then what you do is you take those 10 points in each of those 10 sections, so totaling 100, and you add them all up. And so then you get a percentage of that month. How are you in number form? And you can identify what areas are deficient and which ones are, excess or doing great. You can really turn those dials and really tweak your life. And it's a practical tool to help you do that. So I encourage you, if you don't have this, it's really great I don't have it anywhere online. It's in this book. So, if you order yourself a copy, and then you can do this, and I'll talk about these things so you can follow along with a blank journal. I don't specifically go through live on the podcast, but I talk about the elements so you can kind of, think through what those would be if you don't have the calendar. So that's what happens next. Then, we talk about current year planning. So you want to envision your year all in one go and next year. So what's in store for you for 2023? What's in store for you for 2024? And if you're listening to this later, just substitute in the current and the next year to come. Then we talk about monthly goals. What are our goals? Notes or drawings. And then you have your weekly place where you can fill in daily things. At the back of this book, which is so fun, I added a few extra things, which is what I was missing from other journals. You have your above the cloud cover gratitude journal. We had filled this in last year a little bit on our podcast. And then Sweet Dreams sleeping journal. So if you have dreams, it's so good to write them down, because dream interpretation is one of the best ways that your unconscious mind can talk to your conscious mind. And then you can give yourself some guidance. So that's great. And then Being Journal, self-care regimen, talks about water consumption and exercise. I don't have a food tracker in here, but that would be something else I would add now, looking back. But there's a water log, and there's also how did you feel before, during, and after. What did you think about during your exercise? Your movement log, your movement, you can log it in here, and it just gives you a place to you can see what's going on. It's a way for you to see your life in a different way, so you can react to it or respond to it. So for January, let's begin. You can pause me and take the assessment, give yourself a baseline, and then we'll talk about it again in February. So then we also break our thinking and planning into quarters. So the first 3 months of 2023 of the year, what have you noticed? What are some goals there? That 90-day experience. So we do that all the way through the year as well. So for intentions, I will share personally, and then that will inspire you to journal. Stop me for a second, and then you can journal about your goals. for January, I'm working on some projects that I really need to finish. And I finished my book and I published it. And this would have been my 5th book. I'm so excited about it. I'll have to put a podcast out just on it because it's such a cool project. And I finally finished it. I said I was going to finish it in 2022. And I pushed the publish button. I pushed the print button on December 31st, 2022. But right before, it was like later in the evening to, have a launch date for January 1st, 2023. I did what I said I was going to do. Now I have these projects that I will work to finish, and I have some things in the queue that I would like to get started, but I don't want to start that until I get these projects finished for my clients. But my intention is really to allow this Sonrisa space to grow. Just my coaching practice, my Reiki practice, my writing practice, all of these things to grow. My training practice where I train diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I have been doing that for many years. I would like to see these things grow and consume my life, take over any other way abundance comes in my life. I would love this to just grow exponentially. And it is in abundance now, but I would love to see it blossom even more and in a deeper way. So that's my intention. Let's say, 1, I would like to, I'll put projects. We'll call them pending projects. We'll put that down. Then I would say I would like to have work on manifesting abundance. My beautiful dog has come in the room, so I'm going to go shut the door once. Okay. So we're pending projects. Then manifesting abundance with, I said, my clients, my holistic leadership, coaching. So this is coaching. And then I talked about Reiki and writing / publishing, because I love working with other writers. And even if you've never written a book, that is the funnest, most gratifying, most beautiful process. Going through that together is so beautiful. I've done that a couple of times with some really special people, and it's really cool. So if you're interested in writing your own book, let me know. All right. So those are the 2 things. And then I think I was so focused on exercise last year. I'm going to keep that part of my plan because I always feel so good when I exercise. So I'm going to keep that as part of my care plan. So last year I said I'd like to write at least 1 book this year. And I have some book titles that I didn't write, so maybe I can push those forward. But I did write Paula, Queen of Heaven this past year. I did do that. So I'm going to put a check mark. I am going to put these 2 additional titles. What I would like to say is the big gnarly idea, moving into holistic leadership curriculum. And I did mention this on some of my podcasts this past winter here. Still winter, is January, but like in November, December, I was still talking about that. So I've got enough curriculum. I've got enough content now. Enough research has been done to now put that knowledge into different buckets and assign those leadership qualities. I've already assigned them to the chakra system. So now I just need to flush it out and make it in a way that others can consume and learn and practice those things, which is so cool. So I'm just going to keep that present as the next step. And then I also have this program that I wrote in 2015 that I never published yet. Okay, yet is very important. It's called Sonrisa Self-Care. And I'm going to launch that as well. I think those are two really big things that I want to accomplish this year. Yeah, so we'll do that. Okay. So enough about this calendar. What I have done in my previous podcast is I also have some really cool guidance tools that I use. And I've been doing this reading kind of stuff as a hobby for over 20 years now. 22 years I've been doing it. Tapping into my intuition and my healing guides for guidance. And I have this really cool box, and inside I have some fun tools, but specifically we've been using this deck on this podcast, First Friday's podcast. The answer is simple. Oracle cards by Sonia Choquette, and she is a wonderful author. She's got a little bio here, but she's an author, storyteller, vibrational healer, and sixth sensory spiritual teacher. And she is in international demand for her guidance, wisdom, and capacity to heal the soul. So her capacity to still heal the soul, we have been honoring her wisdom here on this podcast. We pick a card for each month, and then we read the little blurb inside. So I'm going to do that again, because it's so cool and it's so helpful. So she's the author of several best-selling books, including Diary of a Psychic, Ask Your Guides, and Trust Your Vibes, and numerous audio programs and card decks. Her website is soniachoquette.com. So what we do is we take her 62 cards. They have just beautiful illustrations. I got this deck when I was in New York City in 2010. And I went to a place called the Open Center, and it's a holistic healing place. All modalities and all methods and all traditions and all spiritualities are represented there. Yoga is there, Reiki is there, sound therapy is there. It's so cool. And they have a little bookstore, and there was a shelf that had card decks on it. And I bought this card deck and I incorporated it into my way that I, help be my own inner guide, inner leader. This is one of the ways that I help do that for myself and for others, to give them some thoughts. So we're going to do that on this podcast too, because it's fun. All righty. So January 2023, losing the weight, lose the WEIGHT, either literally or physically or emotionally or spiritually or mentally. Mentally losing weight is, oh my gosh, so good. Letting those emotional charges just pass through you without holding on to that weather systems. So release, it sounds like a lot of release, a lot of just shakedown, letting a lot of stuff just go, taking your spring cleaning to the thrift store and letting those things go, even metaphorically. All right, we're going to cut the deck. I've been shuffling and talking enough. For the month of January, our card is Be Courageous. This is what the card looks like if you're watching the video. Now it's a vlog or a video podcast. So here I am on sonrisaproducts.com doing a vlog. Wow. I mean, I'm evolving with the times here. Okay, so the answer is simple. This is the Answer is Simple deck by Sonia Choquette. And we drew card number 8, Be Courageous. So here's her message for us. Your ego is intimidated and wants to run away from the challenge at hand. It will offer any number of arguments to justify its fear and to tell you why you should quit now, none of which are valid. It's okay to be afraid, just as long as you don't allow your fear to stop you from living the truth of your spirit. Overcoming it is easier than you think. Simply admit that you're scared. Say, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm afraid. I'm nervous. I'm fearful. Okay, so we're admitting that. This emotion is normal. The human condition is always fearful. It's the divine part of you your spirit that's fearless. Ooh, this is good. It's courageous because it knows that the universe supports you in all the way. It's so all the ways. It supports you in all the ways, and it supports you all the way. And when God is with you, nothing is against you, because nothing is greater than the divine. Admit that your ego is fearful, and you recognize that this is normal. As you do so, watch your fear subside. Are we watching our fear subside? We say we're afraid. This is normal. It's okay. But that's our human side, and our divine side knows better. Our divine side knows better. Admit we did that. Okay. Yeah, we do. And we're watching it subside. Okay. So the more you acknowledge and accept it as part of your life, as part of life, the less you will hold. It will hold on to you with its grip. Allow your spirit to transform fear into a sense of adventure. A fear into a sense of adventure. I like this. By breathing into it. Breath is spirit. Breath is spirit. When you inhale deeply, it gives you way to courage. Summon yourself. Summon your courage. By drawing in your spirit, you're protected. So breathe and stay the course. So stay the course is big message. And that, even if you're afraid, you do it anyway, right? Even if your knees are shaking, right? That's great. Okay. Got you. Thank you for that wonderful share. So, that is where I will say that this is the end of our podcast for January 2023. You, of course, are able to listen to me do these podcasts anywhere where you can find podcasts. You can also tune into sojourner.com. You can go to Amazon and find this calendar, Healing Calendar 365. And yeah, it's a really great tool. So for now, I just want to have you sit and if you want to hang up, you can journal about what you were just learned about from Sonia about, being courageous. So I'm going to write that in my journal. Be courageous. Admit that you're scared. Say, this is normal. It's okay. It's normal for your human side. But your divine spirit knows better, or knows about adventure. And that this message for us this month is to stay the course. I had been in church. It was my aunt's church, and the minister said, stay on assignment. And maybe that's also the message. Stay on assignment. So I am really looking forward to hearing, feel free to share in the comments, wherever you see this posted. What are your manifestations that you'd like to see? What are your intentions? What are your goals for January? What would you like to see? Share, become part of that community. I've got a forum on sojourner.com. You can also share there. A lot of different places on social. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We have a YouTube channel where I do my energy drawings of different people anonymously, of course, but it's a fun thing. And yeah, there's just a lot of different places. We also have a TikTok channel. So yeah, there's lots of places to tune in. But for now, I really appreciate you joining in and signing in, listening in, tuning in. And if you're going through a volatile, tumultuous time right now, the message is to not make any big decisions when you're hungry or tired or emotional, but just to anchor until you have enough strength to do that, to make those decisions in a grounded, present way. And I wanted to also thank you for giving yourself the time to learn about your inner guide. So on behalf of this podcast, I'm Laura Newberry-Yokley, your host, signing out for now. Cheers.